This is Kate Baconsale. You're listening to Baconsale.
The good news is that we'll be talking about some amazing directors on this episode.
Yay!
The bad news is we'll be discussing their worst movies.
Oh.
The good news is that we have a guest on the show.
Woo-hoo!
The bad news is that he also brought terrible movies to talk about.
Why?
The good news is that we only had to research 10 directors each.
Perfect.
The bad news is going to take a while to get through all 30 directors. The good news is that I grabbed a 3-gallon tub of ice cream from Baskin-Robbins for after we're done recording.
Yes! Yay!
The bad news is the only flavor they had left at Baskin-Robbins was daiquiri ice.
No beach day.
Oh, I would have gone all for beach day too.
Fun fact, that was our lowest rated ice cream on
Was
that.
it?
Yeah,
All of us hated
I
it.
agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
But welcome to Baconsale. I'm Joel.
I Kent.
And I'm Zach.
I'd like to thank you for listening to our last episode, our summer movie preview of 2025.
We are so thankful for all of those who participated, said their movies, and Drew, shout out for the emojis.
Yeah.
The emojis that I never
The
understand.
hieroglyphics.
I don't, you know, at this point, I just look at them like
I'm
like an art gallery, and
Chicken egg dinosaur.
it's like an art gallery. I'm not going to try and figure it out. I'm just going to enjoy.
Yeah, you should just go,
Fantastic. Oh, yes. That's a good insights emotion. But rather than reading comments, we're going to just have a little bit of fun and read some reviews.
Hey!
We don't get those very often.
It's kind of fun.
But we have one.
Leave them. Leave those reviews on wherever you can.
Well, we don't even know where.
Apple Podcast, but do they have them on Spotify? They got to have them on Spotify.
they have them on
I
Spotify.
have no clue.
Yes.
I have. If you leave a
so
review,
much easier. when
Say
we
the
said
line,
iTunes.
Zach.
what? There's no way of knowing. I need a T-shirt. Okay, our first review comes from Fireman. Fireman.
What? Could you spell that for us?
PHYRMAN.
Hey, how's it going? It says,
Freeman.
"What the bacon?"
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So I've listened to you guys for a while. Even went back and got caught up on all of them. I'm
Wow.
entertained by you.
Yay.
You are all very creative.
But
after listening to you not put Tom Petty, U2, or Bruce the Boss Springsteen into round 2, I just can't give you as much of my time anymore. I hope Beck comes to the next recording and hangs you all with guitar strings. Kidding. That's too much. But maybe he could just whip you a few times. Now go back to your Spotify playlist and reconsider your entire thought processes. 5 stars. Yeah.
Okay, good. I was like 3 stars. It sounds like a 3-star.
Yeah.
And then we received word that Carew Dutler updated his review, and this is a visual treat. It's not going to translate very well in audio form.
Okay,
A
good.
lot of weird spellings here.
But this is my favorite podcast by far.
Okay.
I've been listening to Baconsale for years, and with their 500th episode coming up and the expected departure of Zach, I figured
with
I
an
should.
H.
I should-
Zach,
yeah, I was like, oh man. I figured I should probably update this review since I think I last wrote this review back when Jacob was the host. Anyway, this is by far my favorite podcast, and not just because they let me co-host an episode once. They cover such varied pop culture topics and even delve into nutrition. Thanks, Babs. We hope you still keep coming back after Zach QUE. Zach leaves. There is at least one episode out there for everyone.
True.
Which that is
Well, there's 8 billion people in the world now, and 500 episodes.
We've covered it all.
overlap. If you like movie reviews, music battles, video games, food, fast food gluttony, food pyramids, Disney, Doctor Who, comic books, or sports, well, not a lot about sports, but they do their best. Again, thanks to ZAK's influence, they'll probably go back to their sport ignorance after he leaves.
I like the joke.
Which is fine with me because I'm pretty sport ignorant as well. Anyway, I highly recommend you listen to this podcast and then interact with the hosts, Quint, Joel,
Wait, Quint?
QHENT.
Zach.
JOHEL.
You know you're from Utah if.
Yes.
Yeah. And then it's Xax.
Yes. On X, Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, they're pretty nice guys.
Even me.
Yeah.
Even me.
Yes, but leave a review. We love seeing those reviews.
Thanks, Carew Dutler. That was fun and difficult to read.
And we'll attempt to read them.
And I'm retired for the episode. Okay.
I mean, honestly, you are.
Yes, but also we want to announce something else as well.
Oh.
Once again, we want to remind you that our 500th episode is coming up, as Drew mentioned in his review. And so we're going to do something special for that. We're going to do a live recording. So keep your ears out for that here in just a few episodes. It's going to be unique as soon as we plan it.
Yeah.
Unique. That never means good.
But that's not what we're talking about today. What are we talking about today, Zash?
We're going back in time and looking at what is good, but also not.
Yeah.
Yes, pretty much.
That's
Okay.
meta.
Well, I think we need an expert to talk about this.
We do.
Yes.
All right.
Let's bring on an expert, shall we?
We have Jonathan.
Hello.
Johnny English, the Brit. The Brit.
The other English.
Yes.
The other English. The other Brit, Johnny English.
The other Brit.
There you go.
Yes, there you go.
We'll get there
Thank you,
eventually.
English.
Thank you.
He's here. Thank you for being here. He actually was on Baconsale episode 200. The title
Wait,
of that
200?
was
200?
our 200th episode.
He just knows these things.
And then he was also on Baconsale episode 401, Chasing Amy Adams.
Yes.
So, Jonathan, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
And why don't you remind everyone of who you are and why you're here?
So I am Jonathan Vascar, big time fan of Baconsale.
Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Love to talk about movies. It's a big passion of mine. So, and unfortunately, with watching movies, as Kent knows, you get to watch a lot of bad ones.
Yeah, true.
Very true.
And I thought, hey, I have a lot of favorite directors, but even in watching directors, they don't always hit it out of the ballpark.
No.
And so I wanted to talk about that because we have a lot of best of lists, and I thought it would be fun to talk about the worst of the best instead. And
Exactly.
come
So,
up with a list of
so you
that.
approached us a while ago, months ago.
Yeah, months ago about it.
And said, "Hey, I have an idea for an episode." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll say this. I get pitched episodes all the time,
You just get recognized in public.
mostly by my brother. Thanks, Mike.
Oh, yeah. He has
So
a lot
they're
of
probably
ideas.
decent ideas. I get a lot of, really bad ones. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you should talk about like rocks.
Yeah. But then Jonathan said, "Hey, why don't we talk about the bad movies that good directors have made?" And I went, "That's a good idea."
Yeah.
That's a good one.
So we each got 10 directors. We fought over them and decided we each picked, Zach's just being moderator today. And so,
Zach, do you watch movies?
I've never seen 10 movies.
Zach, name a director.
What?
Yes. Her or what? He's actually, he's a German director. Her or what? But no. So we each got 10, and then we split them among, like, we kind of,
Yeah.
I call this one, I call this one. And
So
we
no
wanted-
duplication at all.
No. And we wanted to choose directors that are household names, shall we say. or
Household
well-known.
names or change the game.
Yes. Because not many people have heard of certain directors, but they did have a big impact. And then we said, okay. And then once we pick them, we're going to decide which one we think is their weakest film. Mm-hmm. Now, we may not always agree with each other.
Yeah. Is there going to be fighting or just
There
kind of
may
like
be a little fighting.
gentle conversation, gentle dispute?
Are we ever gentle in our conversation?
We've gotten soft recently.
Will
You
we
jerk.
remain friends after this? I hope so.
I think so.
I think that Joel is the only one with an edge on Baconsale anymore. Oh, yeah, against you.
What's up?
How dare
You are
What's up?
softened in your
I'm the
old age.
hipster. I'm the hipster with the edge.
We're not having fun on a bracket till Joel calls us idiots.
Okay, that's always been true.
Fools gets brought up a lot too. So
Yeah,
Is
it's
it because I like fireworks now?
Yeah. Yeah, you got called out for having
Like
an
in
edge on
fireworks?
that.
you know
Yeah.
how how some people get softer once they have kids.
Yeah.
With Kent, it was cats.
Wow.
They still finger poop over here. It's okay.
No, I'm gonna get mean in this episode.
Don't do it. But we're going to go a little round robin here.
Yeah.
Jonathan, you are our guest. Why don't you start us off with the director, a good director, and then tell us what you think is their worst movie.
All right. I will start with one of my all-time favorite directors here, and I'm going to go with Christopher Nolan.
Well, here's the
We
thing.
didn't
You reserved this one first. This is something we all could have fought over,
We
right?
did,
This
give
is
you
true.
first pick. So
You
yeah.
gave me first pick, and I appreciate that because I was like, I don't
We did
wanna
a whole
take-
episode about him, by the way.
Well,
Because
yes,
episode
this is
270,
true.
Everybody Loves Chris.
He just knows.
Oh, man.
and it was tough to take him, but I was just like, I want to because of the fact that it's hard to pick a bad movie from him. It
Yeah.
really is. He's done so many good films.
He's careful at what he picks.
Yeah.
Very
He does-
careful.
Some directors just direct a ton of different stuff. He's
Yeah.
very selective.
And so what I did with this is I thought, okay, I've seen everything he's done, and I don't want to take his first film, which arguably you could have said
Following.
following.
Sure.
But it was his first movie, and for his first movie, it's actually pretty good.
It is.
Especially the twist at the end. And so I thought,
Dun, dun,
Do you follow the Zack test? So you take two DVDs off the shelf, and even if one is technically better, objectively better, which one would you rather watch? Do you ever follow that rule?
sometimes.
Okay.
So I looked at this and I thought,
Zach's so proud right
I
now,
love
by
that
the
it's
way.
my rule.
Yeah.
I'm gonna trademark it.
I looked at it and I said, this is one that I could watch again because I want to see if there's any clues that make me go, do I know what's coming?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I've only seen it once, I will say. Most of Nolan's films I've watched a couple of times.
Yeah.
Following I've only watched once, and it's not the movie that I picked.
Okay.
What I did is
what are you
I
saying
looked
is the
at this,
worst?
and the movie that I'm saying at the worst is Insomnia.
I knew you'd say
Now,
that.
see, I
funny
like
though.
Insomnia.
No, here's the thing though. I still like it. But here's the thing with Nolan. It's not about, it's weird. He doesn't really have a bad film.
No.
I have to say, beat for beat, he's the most consistent director in my list.
Maybe best
My
of all
lowest
time.
rated of his, by the way,
Yeah.
Tenet. I'd say.
Okay, it's funny because Tenet was my other one.
Yeah.
I put it against
overtime?
Still got
Overtime?
6. It still has 3 stars for me. Like
We
it's
saw
still
that
passing.
together during a pandemic.
Wow, that was
Joel.
special. Rude.
Yeah.
Here's why I said Insomnia versus Tenet, though.
Okay.
A good movie, it should be rewatchable, right? A great movie should be endlessly rewatchable.
And Insomnia, by the way, is a movie with Al Pacino and Robin Williams
And Hilary Swank.
Yeah.
And it's set up in Alaska, and a cop goes up there to investigate a murder.
A little bit of corruption
Right.
going
yeah.
on.
And
yeah.
it's all daylight all the time, and it starts messing with his head because he can't sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why
Right.
it's called Insomnia.
Yes, and it's definitely, if you haven't seen it, it is worth a watch.
Yes.
The thing is, it's very straightforward. It's first for Christopher Nolan. It's very straightforward. It's linear. It tells a plot. It doesn't jump around in time that I remember. And you know where it's going. You know who the bad guy is. It's still great. It's a great film. Everyone brings their A game. Robin Williams is super creepy. Hilary Swank is fantastic as the innocent cop. Everybody is just doing everything they need to do. It's fantastic, right?
But it sucks.
but it's one of those films that I only want to watch like once or twice.
Yeah.
Because you know where it's going, right? Whereas with Tenet, you're like watching it and you're like, the heck is going on?
Gets better
But then
over
you
time,
watch
by the
it-
way.
You watch it again.
See, and I think you
Yeah.
should be able to enjoy a movie the first time you see it and not have to watch it again and again and again. to
Sometimes
understand
it's complicated
what's
for the
happening.
human mind. And then,
But what about Memento, right? Memento, the first time you're like, the heck is going on? And then you watch it again and you're
That's
like,
a great
Have I,
movie.
told, have I
man.
mentioned on Baconsale my 10-year rule? I go 10 years in between Memento, so I've seen it.
It's
twice.
not tenure, it's tenant.
Sorry, 10 years.
you have tenure, but then you,
You
quit.
have tenure on Bacon Sale.
Yeah, not yet.
Sorry, Jonathan. We do this all the time.
good.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. I love you guys. So,
I will tell you what, I will take Insomnia and Tenet over The Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises is actually
That's
right.
my lowest.
It's
I
right
love
about
That is
that
absolutely.
It's actually aged really well. Just letting you know. There's some bad decisions in the movie, but it's aged pretty well.
but it has no reason to exist. Even in the context of the franchise.
That's rude.
The Dark Knight ending, where it's like, yeah, that can just be the end of his story. The Dark Knight Rises, totally pointless to me. And I think outside of the opening sequence, completely forgettable Nolan.
Michael Caine
takes.
Michael
would like to have a word. You failed him. He trusted you and you failed him. That's
pretty good.
You're wrong, Zach.
He's just a gift.
Jeez.
sets up Robin.
Guys,
Slackjawed yokel.
Guys, isn't it cute when Ken tries to get his edge back?
He's gotten so
You're
ranch
so
spicy.
nice.
It sets up Robin.
Pat me on the shoulder.
And not only does it set up Robin, it also gives
my gosh,
Batman a
that's so
happy ending,
stupid.
and it gives us Catwoman, and it's
Yeah.
not the terrible Catwoman.
He should
of the
have
most
blown
recent
up.
movie.
Catwoman's great in that movie. The Robin name is dumb, but at the end was super
The end
awesome.
was Why cool.
did he have to
and,
be
and the
Robin?
French tea scene, legendary.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. So,
So,
Are you going next?
I'll go next. I'm just
Okay.
going to go like this. My first director that I chose is Chris Columbus. Now, I'm going to start here talking about their good movies. You got Adventures in Babysitting, Home Alone, Mrs. Doubtfire, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Their worst movie, according to IMDb, is 9 Months. Or his worst movie.
With Hugh Grant?
Yeah. With Hugh Grant and Julianne Moore. With a 5.5, which is bad. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's hard to get under a 6 on IMDb. But my pick for worst is Rent.
It's Rent.
Can you believe that Christopher Columbus, who made Home Alone, who directed Home Alone, Miss Doubtfire, Harry Potter, Rent?
I mean, it's pretty cool when he came over on the boats. And then he directed these movies.
Wrong. That's Christopher Columbus.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, Rent is his worst.
So Rent, if you don't know, in New York City's gritty East Village, a group of bohemians strive for success and acceptance while enduring the obstacles of poverty, illness, and the AIDS epidemic. Starring Rosario Dawson, Taye Diggs, Adele Dazeem. I can't remember what he said.
I know. Idina Menzel.
Idina
Yeah.
Menzel.
Idina Menzel, that's her name. But this movie bombed at the box office.
Yeah.
Rightly so, because I felt like I wasted my time watching it. I enjoyed the music. I think some of the music is good, but I just hated a lot of the characters. They used like 6 out of the 8 original Broadway members, and so they were all kind of like aged way up from what they should be. So they're like in their 40s going, man, I'm going to make some of myself one day and I'm not going to pay rent because I just got out of college. And I'm like, no, you didn't. I almost said Pixels, by the
I
way.
was going to say Pixels, dude.
I was almost going to say Pixels, but there's some weird...
Hey, Zach Test, Pixels over Rent every day.
No.
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
day.
yeah.
Pixels
I don't
is a
like-
lot more fun,
At
right?
least you got some half decent songs in Rent.
Well, in Rent...
One.
Rent actually... I talked
Actually,
about it in Pixels.
525,000.
Yeah,
600.
$96,000. Yep.
Inside jokes on Baconsale.
Duda.
So this was actually number 3 on my worst movies of 2023 list. So if you go back to that Baconsale episode, you can listen to all my ranting and ravings about this movie because I think it's kind of awful. So yeah, Rent, Christopher Columbus.
You're right.
That's a lemon.
He's got a bizarre filmography, including I Love You, Beth Cooper.
Yeah.
And Percy Jackson.
Yep.
I mean, it's a little bit all over the place.
Percy Jackson almost made it too.
And Bicentennial Man.
Oh, Bicentennial Man.
A lot of people don't like Bicentennial Man.
I don't. I feel weird about it.
But what did it have on IMDb? It's like
6.9.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay,
So-
Stepmom, he's got a weird filmography.
I mean,
Yeah.
I will tell you, I hate Rent. I despise that movie.
Oh, the movie.
Too,
Okay.
it's expensive.
Yeah.
But Bicentennial Man was also pretty bad. The first half is really cute, and then it devolves into that existential drama. But I still agree with you. Rent, of course.
Bicentennial Man was sold as a comedy. That's its biggest.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put Rob Williams in there, and it's like,
There's
Rob
two
Williams is a robot?
There's two funny scenes, like one with Oliver Platt.
So do we have 30 movies to get through?
Kent, you're next.
All right. I'm starting with Zack Snyder, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Has he ever made a movie?
Kent was so funny about picking that. He's like,
Hey guys, maybe I shouldn't pick Zack Snyder.
Well, because here's the thing.
Maybe someone else should pick.
I'm going to say Zack Snyder. I'm going to go through his movies, and Joel will be like, that's the worst. That's the worst. That's the worst.
not true.
If you mention an owl in the next 5 minutes, I'll be mad. Go on.
What if I mentioned Gahul?
I'll just go with the ones that I really prefer. Okay. Dawn of the Dead, 300, Watchmen, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and we'll just kind of stop right there because we could mention a few, right? There, not all these directors will have all amazing hits, but I want to call his worst movie. Honestly, I could go either way because I want to say the Netflix era, and this is the most recent era.
Okay,
I
Rebel
almost
Moon?
want to say Army of the Dead is his worst movie. And I'm going to tell you why.
Almost good.
And many would
But
say
wait, this is all. You don't.
many would say Rebel Moon. In fact, on IMDb, Rebel Moon's slightly lower than Army of the Dead. But for me, when I saw, and we talked about this on one of our previews, we're like another Zack Snyder zombie movie. And by the way, it's zombies in Vegas, and there's a heist. I was so hyped for it. And I was like, yeah, and Zack Snyder being on Netflix is a really good idea. And then I just realized Netflix is where directors go to die. This is gonna come up again.
Wow.
On this show, actually. And I was just like, oh, that was kind of disappointing. And it could have gone to some really cool places, but it couldn't pick a lane. It couldn't go really zany or really serious and scary. It was somewhere kind of walking that fine line. I didn't love the cast of this
Honestly,
one.
saying that Army of the Dead is better than the Legend of the Guardians, Owls of Gahul.
Once again, Zack test. I will watch
That movie's
Gahul.
entertaining.
And I think, Joel, you disagree?
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous movie. I think Gahul is a gorgeous movie.
We're just shorting to Gahul now?
Everybody knows what you're talking about.
It's the longest title ever.
No, I probably think of what about the other Gahul movies? You get them all confused.
Army of the Dead is like a weird experiment of how can you make a movie during the pandemic.
Yes.
It is the most.
Like you take Notaro, who's not even in the movie with everyone else.
Yeah, she was reshot on her own.
Literally
later.
green screened.
Yeah, the movie is just green screen all over the place.
Yeah,
and
and
there's
it's weird shots of everybody too close.
It's funny. There's some plot lines where I'm like, that's really interesting. Go into that further, but it just doesn't.
Jonathan, what's your next one? What's number 2?
I'm going to go ahead and talk about Frank Capra next. Now, a lot of people may
old
not
school.
know him, but
Yeah.
you know his movies because It's a Wonderful Life is a Frank Capra film, and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington is a Frank Capra film.
Delightful.
Yes, right? They're both really good films. Actually, most of his filmography I have seen.
Okay.
There's a few of
It
his...
happened one night.
It Happened
Yeah.
One Night is a beautiful film and very,
That's like
very
that's
funny.
one of the big winners of the Big Five
One
Academy
of the
Awards.
Academy Awards, exactly. And, the way he made actors work, really, really good stuff. Arsenic and Old Lace
Yeah.
is one of his. And people have seen the stage play, but a lot of people haven't seen that movie.
Mr.
Terrific
Deeds
stuff.
goes to town.
Yep, Mr. Deeds. Again, and that remake with Adam Sandler was not so great, but the original film is really good.
He's got 36 movie credit.
He did a lot of stuff, and actually, this movie that he made is his second to last film.
Okay.
It starred Frank Sinatra. It did win an Oscar for the song High Hopes. It's called A Hole in the Head. It was
The
written
movie's called A Hole in the Head.
A Hole in
That's
the
one of my favorite Nine Inch Nails songs.
Here's the thing. So the movie it's about a guy who's kind of down on his luck. He's supposed to be, redoing this hotel, if I remember correctly. I'm going to have to pull up the details. It's been so long since I've seen this movie.
I've got the synopsis right here if you want.
There you go. Thank you, because it's been a while.
Widower Tony is trying to keep a small Miami hotel afloat
There you
while
go.
raising a 12-year-old son. He's forced to ask his hairy brother Mario for help, but he'll only bail out Tony if he quits his bohemian lifestyle and marries a sensible woman. Starring Frank Sinatra.
Yep. Now, here's the thing. So I watched it twice. I watched it as a little boy because my parents used to love watching old films. And so I watched a lot of classics as a kid, John Ford and Frank Capra and all of these guys. I've watched a lot of, John Wayne and, I watched a lot of Jimmy Stewart and things growing up. So I've seen a lot of old black and white films. So I have an appreciation for them. This film, I hated as a kid.
Okay.
And I watched it as an adult to see if I'd appreciate it. In my 20s, I hated it then. So I didn't really want to revisit it now because I remembered hating it.
So you're saying you need this film like what?
Like a hole
there
in
we
the
go.
head.
Oh, okay.
This film is filled with, it's 1959. There's a lot of sexual references in this
Thank you.
film
Oh.
that
Spelling it
are
out.
really surprising. And there's a lot of, moments that the 12-year-old son is not funny. He's arrogant and he's a brat. So where they rely on him to be humorous, it's not funny. And as a parent, it was just like now, I remember thinking it back then, I don't want my kid to be like that.
Yeah.
And thinking now, I definitely don't want my kid to be like that. And there's no magic. Normally the ending is really sweet. This film actually made Frank Capra want to step away. And the second film after this, which was really good, the last film that he did.
Carolyn Jones is in this though.
Yeah, she doesn't save it.
Morticia Adams.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's everybody in this.
And Thelma Ritter. I like her too.
Including everybody was here for the paycheck, including Frank Sinatra. Other than the great song "High Hopes," which feels out of place in a movie. that has
But
no
I
hopes.
got high
Yep.
Yeah,
hopes.
high hopes. High hopes.
You got high hopes for a minute. Panic at the
We've
disco.
gone off the rails again.
Point being, this thing that would have actually saved it maybe, but point being, like this thing, it doesn't have the Frank Capra magic.
Okay.
And it killed his career, and
Wow.
it's unfortunate because he
Even
could have
him.
made movies for 30 more years and he didn't. So it's a sad thing, but this movie I did not like. It's a bad film.
All right.
Head like a hole. Not a fan.
Yeah.
Joel,
Next, I chose the Coen brothers.
we're just
Because-
going to go
yeah,
in this
yeah, it works.
circle every time. Okay.
So
Coen brothers.
Coen brothers.
Joel and Phil. Jake.
Eaton.
John. What?
Eaton Coen.
No wonder I don't remember.
Joel and Eaton.
Joel's always eating.
So, the good movies of the Coen brothers, and I say good not in the sense maybe I like them,
Yeah.
but they're considered well done.
Sure.
The blanket statement
Critically
for all these.
acclaimed.
Yes. But you have Raising Arizona, The Hudsucker Proxy, Fargo, The Big Lebowski, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, No Country for Old Men, True Grit. Their worst movie, according to IMDb, is The Lady Killers with Tom Hanks.
That's bad.
It's not a good movie. And I actually almost picked that movie.
You didn't?
would have
I
been
did
right.
not.
Because it's the right answer.
Because I'm
It is.
fighting against IMDb and awards on this one because I think their worst movie is A Serious Man.
Oh.
So this came out, A Serious Man came out in
Okay.
2009. Here's the synopsis. Larry Gopnik, a Midwestern physics teacher, watches his life unravel over multiple sudden incidents. Despite seeking meaning and answers amidst his turmoils, he seems to keep sinking. And this stars Michael Stuhlbarg, which if you saw him, you're like, oh, that guy.
Character actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this was...
Guy and things.
Guy and things. Him.
I
That's a
watched
show.
this movie. When I watched A Serious Man, I was like, because I like Coen Brothers, and I was like, cool, this is going to be great. I watched it. I'm
little
like,
too
I
artsy?
don't understand what's going on. I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand what's going on. Like, why is all this happening? What's the point? And then the ending happened, and I was like, what was the point of that movie? So then I looked into it. They're like, oh, it's a biblical analogy. It's basically like the story of Job. You know, this guy living his life, and then bad things start happening around him. Everyone's like, oh, it's your fault. And he's like, I'm just being me. So this got like critical response. It did very well.
Yeah.
It did very well at the box office as well. People have called it. It's Ethan Coen, by the way. I should clarify. It's Zach. I was kidding before when I said Ethan. Anyway,
He was joking.
it's a whole thing. But
I bought it.
Ethan Coen decided to open it with like a Yiddish folktale, but they didn't know any suitable ones for this, so they decided to make up their own, and it doesn't have any connection to the rest of the story. And so I got to the end, and I'm like, yeah, so I get what you're going for here, but still, it doesn't make sense, and it didn't have the same kind of quirk that a lot of the other Coen Brothers movies has. It's a little more serious in tone, and it's just kind of disappointing. So I have to say that I did not like A Serious Man.
Worse than Lady Killers.
Spoken like a man who hasn't seen Hail Caesar.
I have seen Hellseeker.
I hated it.
Yeah.
In the theater, the movie ended, and I'm like, what?
It wasn't great.
It's not
I don't
good.
think I
It's
liked
not the
it,
worst, though.
but- Yeah, but there you go.
Or Burn After Reading. Did you see that one?
I did.
I
There
hated
was-
that film.
Well, I didn't like it as well. Like, there's a lot of misfires.
Kent, what do you got next?
James Wan is my next director.
Ooh.
James Wan, who did Saw, Dead Silence, Death Sentence, not so good. Insidious, The Conjuring, Insidious 2, Furious 7, The Conjuring 2, Aquaman, and Malignant.
Dinosaur Hands, you were supposed to pick good directors.
Yeah, one of the most influential horror directors. Now,
He did, horror
No,
definitely
literally.
is his genre.
Saw
Okay, it's
Insidious,
fine.
The
I
Conjuring,
do like Saw.
Malignant, I love, and Furious 7, which is one of the most. No, hear me out. I'm being serious. It's been
Malignant, Saw, Furious 7.
but the fork in the road scene.
One of the best moments in movies.
Right? And his worst movie is his most recent. It's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Boy.
Is that his
I
fault?
can't
though?
argue against that.
Seriously.
No and yes. I think. Go ahead.
Can we just clarify, by the way, when you
Yeah.
say he directed Saw, like the first
wrote
one,
Saw.
like he created it. But
Yeah.
then he's only on board for like the first, the second one.
Yeah.
So the
and
good
then
ones?
he kind of jumped.
He's a
ship after
producer
that.
at this point
So
for a
don't
lot of
think
his
of all
movies.
the trash sequels are all his. Too.
The really good one, the game-changing one.
Yeah.
But Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, maybe not his fault. It could have been like Capra and the Head and the Hole movie. DCU was on the decline. Their movies were all kind of failures. They had The Flash that was meant to reboot everything. And then the last movie of the DCEU was Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Jason Momoa didn't care about the role anymore. No one really did. And so it just kind of, where the first movie made $1 billion, they went, we're going to coast on that. We don't really have a story. We're going to make this like a buddy movie with him and Patrick Wilson. And I think Patrick Wilson cared because he's like a kind of, good actor to watch, but no one else in this movie cared at all. Yeah. It seriously was like truly a superhero afterthought.
So, Ken, how do you feel about his two paths of horror and aquatic films coming together with The Call of Cthulhu that he's in pre-production right now?
You're not wrong. I am so excited.
Yeah.
I hope that he just veers away from the blockbuster filmmaking because I feel like he did that kind of as like a contractual obligation. I don't think his heart was in it at all.
And you got to pay the bills. I get it.
And he only directed the first Saw, and then he moved on to Dead Silence.
I love Dead Silence.
What?
I really like it. Love is too much. I really like it.
You're throwing that word around a lot. You've said love about a lot of things, or I want to call you.
Well, I
on it.
hate everything you said. Yeah.
So cute.
I'm so
if
mad.
he can go back to making smaller films with this.
So, which is why Malignant, for me, it was just such like a B movie horror, and I
pretty trippy.
loved it because it's so strange, and that love is actually genuine, Joel.
Okay.
So, or I know you're noting my loves,
Noting.
but yeah, I think Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is just, what are you doing, James? So, Call of Cthulhu could be redemption.
hopefully.
Yeah.
We just dated this episode.
Speaking of bad, what's next, Jonathan?
Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh,
Hey, we did a show about him.
So, what, 50 movies?
Something like
Something
that.
like that.
He's interesting, right? Because he has done thrillers, great movies like Psycho and The Birds, Rear Window, Vertigo. He's done war movies that I've actually really enjoyed. A few of those.
You can listen to them all on Baconsale episode 175.
You
The
can.
Men Who Knew Too Much About Hitchcock.
Remember that?
just knows.
The guy's got so much knowledge about this show, Baconsale.
Yeah.
God.
Nothing else.
That's your next T-shirt, by the way, Joel.
Stuff
Just
that
show
man.
numbers. That's all he's got up there.
Yep.
And it's show numbers, not like dance tunes from Broadway.
No, that's Zack.
There you go.
So talk about Hitchcock.
Yeah. So, Hitchcock occasionally tried comedy.
Yes,
now,
he did.
he shouldn't have. That's
No.
the problem. He made a movie called Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It is not related to the Angelina Jolie, and Brad Pitt vehicle.
No.
And if it would have been, perhaps it would have been better.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's about a couple who's been married for 3 years and they find out, oops, we're not actually married. It's weird too because what they decide to do is rather than just go and get married, which would have fixed the entire thing rather quickly, they decide to go back through the whole dating thing and trying to find out if it's going to work. And then maybe they have other people they date. It's really risque, actually, quite frankly, for an old film.
Yeah.
And I went through it. I went through a period of where I wanted to watch everything Alfred Hitchcock through my 30s. And including his silent stuff, which was kind of rough too. But
I went
they
through
were
that same
still-
phase a couple years ago.
Yeah,
On Baconsale
Wonder
episode,
why.
blah, 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 blah.
What's up?
And I just found this movie to be really trying in my patience. And I was like, this is not good. It's not funny. It's not charming. And I was like, oh, when is this movie over?
Yeah.
It's like an hour and a half of sheer torture.
That was my fourth worst Hitchcock movie. Jamaica Inn was actually my number one worst Hitchcock
That's
movie.
pretty bad.
Marty was probably my worst
Oh,
one.
stop it. Marty's
No,
okay.
I think it was. And I'm looking back at the scores now like, yeah, I really didn't like Marnie.
Joel, our next director, please.
The director I chose next was Danny Boyle, which is
Oh,
you
one of
love
those-
Danny Boyle.
There was
Loved
a time. There was a time when
Yeah.
Kent and I were talking about a Danny Boyle versus Christopher Nolan episode.
Cute.
So it was going to be. So we're going to do that.
yeah, somebody's passed.
But Danny Boyle, if you don't know, he directed such movies as Trainspotting, 28 Days Later, Millions, Slumdog Millionaire, 127 Hours, and Yesterday. His worst one, according to IMDb, is A Life Less Ordinary. Came out in 1997. It's got a 6.3. So it's 6.3, still considered good.
Sure.
My pick for worst, however, is Trance.
Yeah, it's probably Trance.
So this came out in April of 2013. Here's a synopsis. An art auctioneer mixed up with a group of criminal partners with a hypnotherapist in order to recover a lost painting. So this stars James McAvoy and Vincent Cassel and Rosario Dawson. And it is disappointing.
I think the most memorable part of this movie is the meme of James McAvoy fanning himself and sweating to
like
death.
crazy.
That's the only thing from
That's
this movie. Yeah.
But it jumps back and forth between hallucinations and reality and what's real and what's
could have been
not.
good.
And eventually you stop caring.
Right? There could have been this like pretty intense potential.
Well, and then they just keep twisting and twisting and twisting to the point where you're like, I've kind of lost the plot here. We've twisted so much, I don't know who's on what side. And also it's pretty R. Like Claire Play cut out a big old chunk there in the middle. I didn't like it. I thought it was just a difficult movie to follow and not a very enjoyable one. So,
what about Yesterday? Do you think that's aged well?
I just watched Yesterday.
Super forgettable.
I watched it just a little bit ago, and I liked it because it talks about how great the Beatles are.
Yeah.
But it ends, and I kind of went, okay.
Yeah.
You guys like Sunshine?
The movie
life?
Sunshine.
No.
Actually, no, Darkness. You know this.
Yes,
because I'm
course.
cool.
I didn't like Sunshine when I first saw it. I want to give it another shot.
Sunshine might be one of the like most
Underrated?
highly rated, but like I don't get it. Movies.
Oh, I love it.
You do? Okay, I need to see it again.
It's like 4 different stories in one, but it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, our next movie.
Next director is Catherine
our next
Bigelow. So her movies are Point Break, Strange Days, The Weight of Water, K-19, The Widowmaker. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
And then she goes into The Hurt Locker, Zero Dark 30 in Detroit, right? So there's been like this, like, I make studio movies and then I make like these war movies that will win Oscars, essentially.
Yes.
Her worst movie, I actually talked about this on a different show, is her director debut show. I think her worst one is Loveless, and this was her first movie, kind of a student film, but this stars Willem Dafoe, and he's a biker in a cafe, and nothing happens. Conversations, and he's
I'm just looking at the poster for Loveless, and it's Willem Dafoe in like a leather jacket just staring at me. It's making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it's basically trouble ensues when a motorcycle gang stops in a small southern town while heading to the races at Daytona. It's not good. But also just today, I watched her second movie starring Jamie Lee Curtis called Blue Steel.
Blue Steel? No?
You've seen this cover. No, not that Blue Steel. But this is as 90s as a movie as you could ever watch.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
More than The Net?
It feels like a predecessor to The Net, right? It's this cop who's already struggling with trauma, and then she has a stalker who wants to kill her. And it's so dumb, but it's like just a movie you'd see in the 90s, like late at night once, and you'd be like, okay, I saw that. It's a bad movie for her, but I do think Loveless is maybe made worse. I'll say
So you're
that.
saying Loveless is your pick?
Loveless is my pick, but both are horrible.
I can't argue with you, but that poster is still making me uncomfortable, so I'll agree with you.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe in anything probably makes you uncomfortable.
But a year after Blue Steel, she made Point Break, and Point Break
isn't that
rocks.
crazy?
I love it.
So I feel like she didn't have a vision. She didn't really have that directorial voice yet. And maybe it took her a little bit to get there, but I really do think she got there.
I'm still looking. I forgot about K-19 The Widowmaker.
Yeah, right. It's the movie like, I saw that at the Provo Dollar Theater for 50 cents.
It's a solid movie too.
Yeah.
All right, Jonathan, our next director.
All right. I am going to go with Quentin Tarantino. And he is a hard director to talk about because he's so divisive. He has good movies, but the man just does not know.
Could he get out of his own way?
Yes, thank
Right?
you. He swears.
He trips over his own
much.
feet, you might say.
Someone else's feet.
Oh, so yeah, seriously.
He's never made a bad movie.
We could argue against that.
Never made a bad movie.
Because
I'm looking at you because you like Death Proof because Cars.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
fun.
All right, Jonathan. Give us some of his movies. What has
Zach's
he done?
gonna have some problems with me tonight. But
and some of they're some of the best,
Doesn't mean I
most
like 'em, but they're not
influential
bad.
Gen X and Gen Y movies ever
he
made.
has, yeah. Let's talk about some good ones first. I mean, you talk about, Pulp Fiction, for
Yeah,
example.
totally.
He takes a movie that's about a heist and he makes you fall in love with dancing in this scene that's so amazing with John Travolta and Uma Thurman. This scene that is so incredible and so well filmed that the whole movie through, I wasn't 100% sold until I saw that scene and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, he makes that cool, and he makes the scenes towards the end with the briefcase. You never find out what's in it, but you don't care because the movie's so well done. And yeah, that movie has a lot of cursing, but
And you fear for characters you don't even like.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. And that scene when they open the closet door and bam, and you're just like, no, they're bad guys. But you're like,
Right.
no, don't do that. That was really well done. You think about Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
They're in a room for a really long time with the camera just panning from character to character to character. and you're in rapt attention watching that.
Totally.
Like that's a really great, great sequence in one of his first films, right?
He's a better Aaron Sorkin.
True.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I like how Zack leans in to say a comment, then he'll fold his arms, lean back.
I said my piece.
Drops the truth bomb, then sits back and watches the chaos ensue.
That's true. And I will say this. He does different genres. Every film is a different thing, right? A different take, because you've got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which was much slowed down, and it was a fairy tale of sorts.
Yeah.
He takes a true story and he twists it. What if, He has a heist movie, and then he's got a horror film, and then he's got these grindhouse films, and and so he takes you back in time with period pieces. You got The Hateful Eight, it's a Western, and so it's not every film is a different genre, but he's played in a lot of different genres.
My lowest rated of his right now looks like it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but that seems odd.
That seems odd.
That's
'cause
unfair.
That's a great
Yeah,
film.
it's unfair.
It's really good.
I love it.
Yeah.
Actual love.
Kill Bill, which is kung fu,
man.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't like saying part 1 and part 2 because it
It's
feels
just one movie.
disingenuous. It's just one movie.
The whole bloody affair is what they call it.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I thought that is great. And sorry, Zach, but the movie I don't like is Death Proof.
Over Jackie Brown.
Yeah, over Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown's good.
And the reason
It's good, but you have to be like 47 to like it.
I
Right?
mean, I'm getting there, but
I don't know if I haven't seen Death Proof.
don't.
Oh.
It's big dumb fun.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead is in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know all about it.
Yeah.
Just haven't seen it.
Okay, good. Because
Gotta find that filter.
the reason I didn't like it is because of the grindhouse feel, for one thing. I hadn't seen a grindhouse film before.
Yeah.
So I was not prepared for like the pops and the squeals and stuff as you're watching the film. And I'm just like, oh, this is weird. Like I'm watching and it's popping and it's squealing and this is very strange. And then, like you're watching it and all of a sudden it goes completely black and white. And I'm like, wait, rewind. Oh, it wasn't color. Now it's black and white. And then it goes back to color again. I'm like, that was weird. So I didn't like that because it was very off-putting to me. And I know that I guess they're trying to say like, hey, if it was made cheaply, this is what it would do. Other thing I didn't like was the focus on the violence in the film. Look, he focuses on violence in Kill Bill. Yeah. He focuses on it a lot in all of his films. But
it's ugly here.
It was ugly here.
Yeah.
And there's a sequence.
Grindhousey, grimy.
If you're planning on watching the film, I'm not going to ruin it, but the focus on the scene in the car with the guy who's left or right, that was too much for me. I'm sorry. It was
I
too
get
much
it. I
for
get
me.
it.
And that bothered me so much that I was like, I hate this film because of this scene right here. And that scene right there made me say Death Proof. It should have been Watcher-proof. I'm serious. I was so mad. And that right there was what turned me off. Now, I will say there was one pro, and it's the end sequence. That end sequence.
I'm so glad when it was over.
that end sequence. No, actually, the end sequence on the car. I sat there thinking, "Oh my gosh!" Putting Zoe Bell on top of the car.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Listen,
that was very cool.
There's an impact scene in this movie, and they slow it down, and limbs are flying.
Yeah,
and it is insane.
The car tire wheel.
Oh mercy. Oof. Anyways. I hear you.
But yeah, it was too much. And that was for me, it was just like, are we glorifying this? Are we really glorifying this?
I think based on, he was so on theme that it was like perfect, but it was also kind of unlikable.
It was too much.
It was awful taste, but great execution.
Yes.
Where it's like, you don't have to like it. And I understand, like, I don't really care for movies like that, but it was really well executed in what it was trying to do. And for that, I respect it.
Yeah.
Again, not my favorite, but it's a correct choice. But, all right, Joel, what do you got?
Speaking of things that are out there, I have David Lynch.
Okay.
Now,
do you like any David Lynch movies?
I do. His good movies include The Elephant Man, Straight Story, and then people also like Blue Velvet and Mulholland Drive. His worst, according to IMDb, is Dune, 1984.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to find a good one for him.
The Straight Story felt...
I love The Elephant Man.
It's wonderful.
The Elephant Man,
like him.
Yeah, Straight Story is really good, but then Elephant Man is powerful. And we did a whole episode about David Lynch on episode 358, Lynchian Dynamics, which that was great for SEO, by the way.
Yeah.
Tons of people found us because of that. This movie, Eraserhead.
I think it's Inland Empire is his worst.
I was going to say Eraserhead is the one where I'm like...
You just have a bone to pick with Eraserhead.
Eraserhead.
Because it give you nightmares.
And I brought... it's because it's the art film that makes people... Like if you people don't want to go see art films, it's because of the movies like this.
Okay.
I'll give a synopsis. Henry Spencer tries to survive his industrial environment, his angry girlfriend, and the unbearable screams of his newly born mutant child. Starring Jack Nance and a bunch of other people. Came out in 1977, and I talked about this before, but it's just so bizarre and intentionally so. Like they kind of let him do whatever he wanted. And he came up with this whole black and white, weird chicken dinner, mutant baby, radiator girl movie where you get to the end, you're like,
in context, yes.
yes. But you get to the end, you're like, what just happened? And I hate feeling stupid in movies. And I felt so stupid watching this movie and really annoyed at times too.
Once you accept it, you have more fun. Trust me.
I don't know. It's also it's that pretentious art film. Like I'm doing art. I'm not just making a film. I'm creating art. And this was like right out of the gate for him too.
Yeah.
Eraserhead is not for me.
All right.
And I'm sorry about that. And I'm sorry, Andrew.
Kent, what do you got next?
Stanley Kubrick. Or Kubrick, if you're an elitist.
My name is Kubrick.
So his movies are Paths of Glory, Spartacus, Doctor Strangelove, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Clockwork Orange, Barry Lyndon, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, and Eyes Wide Shut. This is a very long career, but he's also very choosy with his movies, except for the first couple, right? And I hate to really. It feels like I am. It's like a kind of an easy one to choose his first movie, but I am. His first two were actually really bad. And the second one he did is called Killer's Kiss, but the first one he made is called Fear and Desire. And this one came out in 1952. It's on YouTube. It's not rated. It's an hour and 2 minutes. And the synopsis is 4 soldiers trapped behind enemy lines must confront their fears and desires. Hey, that's the title. Roll credits. This is a black and white movie. And this one feels like, you know, it kind of looks like it's the quality of like a Twilight Zone episode where it's just 4 guys in a forest just having conversations. And there's a woman that, like, even though they're in a war-torn country, this woman shows up and she's like wearing a nice dress, and they keep her as their prisoner, and they just tie her up, and then they all just philosophize about what it means to be a soldier behind enemy lines. He actually hates this movie.
Does he?
Yeah, he says, so he made this movie. And as soon as he did, and he borrowed like thousands of dollars from his uncle to make this movie. As soon as he finished, he burned all the negatives of the movie, except for Kodak had an extra copy. And so the studio screened it, and he was so mad. And he says, it's not a film I remember with any pride, except for the fact that it was finished. This was written by a failed poet. It's a completely inept oddity, boring and pretentious, that it's a bumbling amateur film exercise. So even him, he's a little pretentious talking about his own movie. He really dislikes this movie, really wants it to disappear. And
seriously though, if you want whiplash, you look at his filmography, because you get things like Spartacus, and then Doctor Strangelove, and 2001: A Space Odyssey, then Clockwork Orange, then The Shining, then Full Metal Jacket, then Eyes Wide Shut. But it was like
weird because it's not like he doesn't stay on theme, but it's all like very purposeful and all.
It is,
him.
and he's
It's
a talented
very
director. Like 2001: Space Odyssey, as much as I have issues with the Outside movie, that Inside movie is very,
but like
very well done.
he's a director's director.
Yes,
right.
Yes. You talk about Kubrick, you're like, oh, Kubrick.
He definitely didn't make films for audiences. He made films for directors, and some of them, you're right, Joel. Like Space Odyssey, the beginning is like, what? But the Inside movie is pretty interesting. Spartacus is depressing, but it's a well-made film,
right?
Except for that wristwatch. But
and if you have not seen the 1956 movie The Killing,
The Killing, I didn't mention that one.
So good.
Yeah,
did you end up watching it?
No, not yet.
Oh, it's so good. It's like a heist movie on like a racetrack, and it's very well done.
I haven't seen that one either.
Yeah, that's gonna be my next one. So I've seen everything else
Watch
except
The
for that
Killing
one
by Kubrick. It's actually pretty good.
Jonathan, what is your next director?
So my next director is Ridley Scott.
Heard of him?
If we would have done this several years ago, it would have been hard to pick a movie that was on that list. But now it's hard to pick a movie because he's done so many. He's inconsistent now.
Yeah, and that's kind of Zack brings this up a lot, where it's like every other movie that Ridley Scott does, is either the best or the worst.
Right.
Yeah, he cannot make 2 good movies in a row.
Yeah,
not anymore. Yeah, what's going on with him? I don't know. But this one is a little bit older, but I'm going to list the actors and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Noomi Rapace. I think I'm saying her name right. Logan Marshall Green. Michael Fassbender. That might give it to you.
I know the movie. I'll let you keep going, though.
Charlize Theron.
I disagree wholeheartedly.
Well, I'll tell you why. But
Okay.
You'll see why, I think. But Idris Elba and Guy Pearce.
Joel, do you know this
big
one?
ones. Do you know yet?
I'm looking through his thing here, and I'm trying to figure out which one it is.
The movie is. Can I give it?
Yeah.
Prometheus.
Yep, it's Prometheus.
And Jonathan, you're wrong.
Out of all his movies, you're
Jonathan,
picking Prometheus?
You're straight up wrong. This is a movie that you rewatch, especially with friends in a movie club, and they give you all the
special
insight.
4-hour Rich Adams cut.
And guess what? It's kind of good.
I didn't like it. I didn't really like Prometheus.
At first, you're like, this is really dumb. Why are these scientists so stupid?
Yeah.
Right?
That's one of my issues.
Yeah.
Is I've actually got a couple of issues, but
Yeah.
I
agree.
I think I give it to Hannibal. I'm looking through this. Hannibal.
I do have Hannibal written down as one of the options. Napoleon.
No,
Hannibal,
it's
House of
either The
Gucci.
Counselor or Exodus.
Exodus.
I thought Exodus was such a missed opportunity.
Oh,
Yeah,
Exodus.
that was
Oh,
pretty bad.
Exodus, Gods and Kings. That's one with Joel
Christian Bale and Joel Edgerton.
Joel Edgerton. Yeah. Ooh.
I almost.
It should have been a shoe-in, right?
Could have been. I mean, because that was pretty bad too. But my problem was I was like, look at all of the stuff he had done. The original, Alien thing with him doing that. Blade Runner, Legend. I mean, so many good films.
Yeah.
So when he comes back to the Alien
G.I.
franchise-
Jane. I put that on there too.
Oh, yeah,
Accurate.
that was pretty icky. But when he does so many good films, and then you're excited for him to come back to the franchise, I was like, oh, we're gonna get some answers. This is gonna be cool. It's gonna be an origin story.
Yeah.
And so I went in really excited, and I sit down, and this thing starts with this big mystery, and I'm like, this is gonna be so cool. And then it kind of it goes to these scientists. They go down to this planet. They rip off their helmets, and you're just like, well, that was dumb. What are you doing? So
Dumb
that was the
decision after
first
dumb
thing.
decision.
Yeah, it's these guys making these dumb decisions. Like, hey, we're gonna run the wrong way as this this big wheel is rolling, and we're gonna run that way,
Right underneath it.
right underneath.
Yeah,
it.
they call it Prometheus School of Running. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a
Cinema
map,
Sins.
but we are lost. We can't find them, but they have the map. There was just too many dumb things. Why don't we take the head and go this way? What are you doing? So there was just too many silly things.
I get it.
And that's why I couldn't. I mean, yes, there was the whitewashing in Exodus, the completely inaccurate biblical story. There was, the House of Gucci, which is just bad from start to finish. Napoleon, that was just terrible.
Sad.
There was a lot of bad, right? But because the hype for me for Prometheus was so big that I
totally get it.
Because it was a big hype. It was like, this is the
Big
follow-up to
hype.
Alien, or the Alien franchise, I should say.
This is kind of where I saw the cracks for him becoming kind of an inconsistent director.
Okay.
too. I
Yeah.
know you guys might disagree, but for me, I was just so disappointed. So you can tell me
You're
now.
not mad.
I
You're
am
just
wrong.
disappointed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joel, what do you have?
I chose Guy Ritchie. If you don't know him, he's directed such movies as Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, Sherlock Holmes, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. The worst movie, according to IMDb, is Swept Away, featuring Madonna.
I forgot about that.
Have
one.
you
Yeah,
seen
I,
this?
I think I have.
Because you just forgot about
I
it.
get that one like 6 Days, 7 Nights mixed up.
Oh, yeah.
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 Anyway, but my pick for the worst movie by Guy Ritchie is King Arthur, Legend of the Sword.
Oh, yeah.
Came out in 2017.
What a bummer.
That was a bad one.
Robbed of his birthright, Arthur comes the hard way back in the alleys of the city. But once he pulls the sword from the stone, he is forced to acknowledge his true legacy, whether he likes it or not. Starring Charlie Hunnam when they were trying to make Charlie Hunnam a thing.
I like Charlie Hunnam.
Jude Law, you can, yeah, it's fine. Jude Law, Eric Bana, Jimon Hunsu.
Yeah.
But this movie bombed at the box office, and rightly so. I don't get it. Like, I'm a fan of Guy Ritchie. Like his style, I enjoy it. And I also like Arthurian legend. But putting them two together is like mixing hot chocolate and orange juice. Just doesn't work.
I agree with that.
Like, they're good things separately, but together it just didn't work.
His style didn't work.
No, it was like all the flashbacks and flash forwards and quick cuts and action-packed stuff, and the story was just one big mess. It was one big mess. I did not enjoy this one at all. And it was supposed to be, this film was supposed to be the first in a 6-film franchise.
What?
Wow.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
And it lost a bunch of money, and they said, no, this is the only movie. And I honestly forgot it existed until I looked at his filmography.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's
that movie.
right.
They just
King Arthur.
It wasn't just making Charlie Hunnam a thing. It's trying to make Guy Ritchie do something like you said that doesn't fit. He needs to stick with what he's excellent at.
Square peg round hole kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my pick.
Aladdin.
Aladdin's pretty bad.
Yeah.
All right, my next director is Sam Raimi. His filmography is The Evil Dead franchise, the trilogy, Quick and the Dead, Simple Plan, Love of the Game, The Gift, Spider-Man 1 through 3, Drag Me to Hell.
I love how you just yada yada Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 1 through 3.
One of the biggest things out there for superhero movies, but
He's an auteur in a weird, quirky way, but I love that quirk, right? But his worst movie is called Crime Wave. And this came out in 1985. It's PG-13. It's 1 hour and 26 minutes long. So here's the synopsis. A pair of whacked out cartoon-like exterminator/hitmen kill the owner of a burglar alarm company and stalk the partner who hired them. Wow, this just keeps going. But essentially, there's so many characters, there's so many villains, and there's these hitman/exterminators who are just kind of like Disney henchmen.
Right.
And the whole thing is kind of meant to be like, we even have like tubas and saxophones playing. Like anytime someone gets hit in the head, it's like, you know. So that was
he does that though, like even in the Spider movies, which I really do enjoy. There's that little bit of camp where you're like, ugh.
And you could see, like,
goofy.
obviously with Evil Dead 2, he kind of perfected a lot of what he does in a low budget. But Crime Wave, you can see a lot of the like first person shots of things being thrown around a room, and I'm like, okay, I love what you're doing there, and you're getting there, but this movie is horrible.
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell's in it though, so that
Bruce Campbell's in everything Sam Raimi does.
I know, but
That's
I'm like,
true.
hey, he's chewing up the scenery. I love that guy. There's just too much going on in this movie. Do not watch it. So Crime Wave, skip it altogether.
Jonathan, who is your next director?
All right, my next director is Clint Eastwood. There's no arguing that
Eastwood.
he is a master of storytelling.
Yeah.
But I think he made a misstep recently.
He's directed a lot of movies.
He has, and not all of them are winners, I will admit. But I really feel like Juror number 2 was a letdown for me.
As the worst though?
I know, but here's the thing: I've seen a lot of his films, and I did think about saying $1 Million Baby because of how depressing it is.
But it's a good movie.
It
It's
is a
well
good
made,
movie though,
yeah.
and that's the thing.
Yeah.
And so I felt like Juror number 2 was the problem, because it should have been a mystery. He gives it away at the beginning, and he shouldn't have.
Okay.
And because of that, there's nothing there.
Did you see the 1517 to Paris?
Yeah, I did. And I thought that was actually.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was pretty good.
It's a real life story, but the thing is, they used the real people.
Yeah, they did.
In the movie, and they are not actors.
That's true.
And that was the biggest drag for me on that movie.
Yeah, but I thought it was cool because it was a true story.
But I haven't seen
so-
Juror number 2 yet.
So I won't ruin it for you, except to say that at the beginning you know everything, and if you didn't know everything, because the way it markets it is like it's a thriller,
Yeah.
where you don't, and so you're expecting something the other shoe to drop. The other shoe drops in the first 5 minutes.
And the problem is, this is a movie that could have been directed by anybody.
Yeah, it's not Clint Eastwood.
No.
It doesn't feel like Clint Eastwood.
Right.
And so it's like this movie is so vanilla that it's not special.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like Richard Jewell is special. $1 Million Baby is special. You know, even Play Misty for me, his first one, is special. There's something with him that even when it's a comedy, right? You know, there's something special about a Clint Eastwood movie. This is not special. It's just a Netflix film. And that's what
With good
bothered me.
actors.
With good actors.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like there was anything there. And that's the problem, is just nothing happens. And so that was my problem.
Okay.
Nothing happens.
All right, that's a good case
So
to
you're saying
make,
I should
honestly.
watch this immediately.
Yeah. I mean, if you're wanting
Watch it with little expectation, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's fine. It's a
Like a
courtroom
background movie?
It's a courtroom drama.
A background movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much a background movie.
All right.
Joel, who is your next director?
James Cameron. Now, if you haven't heard of James Cameron, wow. Really? Yeah. Because he has directed multiple of the highest grossing movies of all time. No, his movies include The Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, True Lies, Titanic, and Avatar. And
You're just
You
gonna.
got it over.
I can yada yada over those.
How are you not? Are you gonna go? Avatar is the worst. Avatar 2 is the worst.
Their worst movie, according to IMDb,
Avatar?
according to IMDb, is Piranha 2: The Spawning with a 3.8.
Makes sense.
But my pick for James Cameron,
Oh, here we go.
James Cameron's worst movie, is Piranha 2: The Spawning.
Okay.
Yeah, no hot take here because
I was like, are you going to say The Abyss? Joel, say The Abyss.
I like this movie.
oh,
dear.
really? Do Kenny 3 Double D? It's, you like this movie? You like Piranha 2?
The predecessor to another Piranha series.
Yeah.
It's so bad, but it's
Piranha
like
3DD.
it's so bad it's good though, right?
No.
It's strange that it's James Cameron.
No, that's just it. So this is, I think my review says something to the effect of, out of all of his movies, this sticks out like a chewed off thumb because it's piranhas. Get it? They eat stuff. The synopsis: a scuba diving instructor, her biochemist boyfriend, and her police chief ex-husband try to link a series of bizarre deaths to a mutant strain of piranha piranha fish whose lair is a sunken freighter ship off a Caribbean island resort. I should clarify, the alternate name for this movie is Piranha 2: Flying Killers.
It's so funny.
Because the piranhas fly.
It's so funny.
They
Please watch
fly.
it.
There's
They fly
literally a
now?
scene. Yes. There's literally a scene where they're doing an autopsy on a body, or it's in a morgue, and a piranha comes out of the body and flies at the person's face.
Wow.
How it survived in there? I don't know.
Piranha 2 or The Abyss, Piranha 2 all day. That's the one I'm watching.
If you're asking how it survived, you're asking too much of this movie.
By the way, that's
apparently.
the first Piranha movie was actually directed by Joe Dante, which I was
Yeah.
like, wow.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Joe Dante, James Cameron. I'm like, the Piranha franchise got some
If
good
you want a bad
directors.
movie, this is the one to watch. It's so fun.
No. And James Cameron got the job because he was working as a special effects artist for Roger Corman, who did a bunch of
perfect.
these movies.
Yeah.
Roger Corman was asked to work on this. He couldn't. So James Cameron took over. And then there was a producer named Ovidio G. Assonitis. He was an Italian director. And essentially what happened, this is James Cameron's story, is that he started directing it and then he was kind of fired by the producer who then took over the directing duties because they couldn't have the producer's name on the credits. So they had to keep James Cameron's name on there. And he didn't want to be a part of it at all. He kept trying to get his name removed and they're like, no, this is you
love
now.
that.
Apparently he broke in to the studio when the producer guy was, the Italian producer was elsewhere, like in another country, and recut his own edit of the movie secretly. And then the producer found out, came back and recut it the way he wanted to. The director's cut of this movie is actually shorter than the theatrical cut.
I'm going to watch this one.
So yeah, it's terrible. And in fact, James Cameron, he often just refers to The Terminator as his first movie ever made.
It kind of makes sense.
But he did say at one time, he was in an interview and he said that Piranha 2 is, quote, the best flying piranha film ever made.
Agreed.
Wow.
It's true.
I like Piranha 2 more than Avatar 2.
Well, now I don't want to argue with you.
Yeah, argue with that,
'Cause
Joel.
I don't care for the Avatar franchise. But it's better than Piranha 2, The Spawning.
I don't know.
Kent, who's your next director?
Richard Linklater. Obviously, no surprise. I love Richard Linklater.
Sure.
It's hard to say. Rufus Wainwright, Richard Linklater. So
Richard Linklater.
he's directed Slacker, Dazed and Confused, Before Sunrise trilogy, Waking Life, School of Rock, and then Bernie, Boyhood, Everyone Wants Some, and then most recently Hitman. His worst movie is Bad News Bears from 2005.
Oh,
This
that was
movie's-
him.
Yeah, that was him. And
So
it's-
Bad News Bears is beloved by many, but not the 2005 version. Well,
Yeah.
maybe even the 2005.
So there's a 70s
Billy
version.
Bob?
Yeah, this is Billy Bob Thornton. This is a remake. I'm not going to
of
say
the Walter Matthau classic.
it's classic because it's like one of those crass sports movies that you're like you
the
shouldn't
kids
like.
swear.
It's like the kids' version of Porky's. Here's the thing: Richard Linklater does subtle comedy pretty well. If you've seen Bernie, you're like that movie's not funny, but like for some reason I'm amused by it.
Amusing is a fantastic word.
Right? And whereas Bad News Bears, what?
I just saw my lowest rated of Richard Linklater's.
What
was,
is it?
Before Sunset.
Ooh.
But
I haven't seen a lot
maybe
of
his
these.
best movie. That's insane. Okay.
Oh no, it's Before Midnight. Oh, they're the same.
Hey, now.
Here comes
I didn't say what the rating was.
guys. Here comes the real anger.
Yeah, this isn't made up.
Here comes the real anger.
But yeah, this is a really like close retelling of that original movie. And it feels like it's a movie from the 70s, meaning the comedy doesn't work. I know this is 2005. You could get away with a lot, but it's like a little too crass. Like you think of like the early 90s Little League comedies that came out a bunch
Yeah.
and they were funny, but you had to be of the age. I don't think that the Bad News Bears remake is really for anyone. And it's not enjoyable. It's a little too like quaint to be like far reaching as far as audience. So I hated it. And Billy Bob Thornton like sleptwalked through the role. It's just Billy Bob Thornton being bad Santa again.
Does he sleep through what? Through most of his
I
roles?
was going to say,
I
he
think
kind
so.
of tends to do that.
He
Yeah.
doesn't want to be there.
He's really good at Armageddon.
I mean, he kind of is.
He's like, you're actually really good.
yeah.
He
All
plays
right.
sleazy very well, which is kind of troubling.
Yeah. He plays himself pretty well.
And why is it that these big directors do these remakes? Because they're not good. Look at the Coen brothers with Lady Killers.
I think it was a love letter. I bet he likes the movie a lot, the original. And he's like, hey, I'm in the 70s vibe. Because a lot of his
I think
movies
that's
are
what they're going
70s
for.
based.
Yeah.
But sadly, it didn't work.
Jonathan, who is your next director?
All right. My next director is Paul Thomas Anderson.
PTA board.
Does he have a bad movie?
Does he have a good movie?
Okay. So I
Watch
think
out now. Watch out.
we should have a quiz that's Paul Thomas Anderson or Paul W.S. Anderson.
Ooh, that'd be
Who directed what?
That would be fun.
Resident Evil.
That was a W.
Because
Yeah.
now that's the guy that does he have a good movie.
I do get them mixed up.
Yeah.
I will say he is a very consistent director. I like a lot of his stuff. Huge.
What
fan
has he
of-
done?
Licorice Pizza
Yeah.
is a big crowd pleaser, I think.
Yeah.
Inherent Vice, The Master,
Boogie
he's
Nights,
done
Magnolia,
Boogie Nights, Magnolia,
Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be
Punch
Blood.
Drunk Love, which is fantastic. There Will Be Blood. Which
There Will Be Blood's the best.
talk
Did I
about,
say There Will Be
about
Love?
using a
There will be blood.
I think I said There Will Be Love.
There Will Be Love. There
will be love.
Wow.
Talk
Late
about
nights on
taking a
Baconsale.
milkshake
Oh,
and
and a
looking
bunch
at it
of-
in a whole new way.
Yeah.
I just love that his IMDb is like a Daniel Day-Lewis movie and a bunch of Haim music videos.
Gosh,
Yeah.
there's so many music videos there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why there was one at the start of looking.
Oh, Radiohead.
So what's,
Radiohead.
what's his worst?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I love a lot of his films, as I said, and I love
Hot take incoming, I'm sure.
I love Amy Adams.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
So surprise, surprise, I do not like The Phantom Thread. Yeah, that's right.
Hey.
It's one of those more recent ones.
So yeah, and it's,
All right.
there's a reason I don't.
Uh-huh.
I was kidding about The Master. The Master is troubling, I will say, but there's a really important message about Scientology there.
Yeah,
I mean,
and the acting is so good.
Yes, and
It's masterclass.
It is, and I cannot hate on those guys at all. You know, everybody is bringing their A game in that movie.
I feel detached from Phantom Thread.
Yeah,
Like everyone's trying so hard. It's Daniel Day-Lewis's, I think, his final role.
it is.
Where I'm just like, you're doing great, buddy. I don't care about this at all.
and it's the ending.
I once
is
wrote
really
a thread
messed up.
about Phantom Menace.
And then you started a podcast. Wahoo.
I think Joel's a little confused. He hasn't seen this, has he?
Set in 1950s London, Reynolds Woodcock is a renowned dressmaker whose fastidious life is disrupted by a young, strong-willed woman, Alma, who becomes his muse and lover.
And not just muse, it's really weird. So the movie is very, like, it's a drama, but it has some very odd elements to it. Like, he starts treating her like a mannequin almost, and he wants to dress her in all of these weird
I saw that movie in the 80s.
Love it. Hollywood.
Yeah.
Hollywood. That one had, more comedy
What was
than
his
this
name? Andrew? No, never mind. I'm getting sidetracked.
You are, but that's okay.
McCarthy.
Because that one is almost as weird as this one. This one, like, it's weird because he starts to try and control her. Then she turns the tables on him and she starts to take the power back. The weird thing is, like, the cinematography of the house is cool.
Yeah.
It is. And watching him can get boring. It does, because they're focusing so much on him making the clothing. But when the tables are turned, she starts poisoning him. And I'm just going to put it out there and kind of ruin it a little bit.
Spoiler alert.
Well, it's not much of a story to tell, to be honest. It really isn't. It's more about what he's doing with the fashion than anything else.
Yeah.
But the ending is just so abrupt and weird. And it gets very, what would be the word? Psychedelic? I don't know. It gets very weird and twisted at the end. And you're just like, this movie gets incoherent and hard to follow at the very end. And so while I do like Paul Thomas Anderson, I didn't like this because the end was weird. And by the way, he was inspired to write this he wasn't feeling very good, and his wife came to him, and the look she gave him inspired the idea for this movie. And I was just like, that's creepy.
A little bit.
So
little bit.
yeah, his wife is Maya Rudolph, by the way. So,
She also kind of does that look.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis is married to Maya Rudolph?
no,
Paul Thomas Anderson.
Oh.
Oh, you're relieved now?
I was very confused about that pairing.
40-year age difference, but whatever.
It's fine.
Hollywood.
Yeah, no, accurate choice. I agree.
Thank you.
Joel, who is your next director?
Kenneth Branagh.
Oh.
I was more Scottish. I apologize.
Yeah.
So Kenneth Branagh has directed such movies as Much Ado About Nothing with Kate Beckinsale, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein without Kate Beckinsale, Hamlet, Thor, Cinderella, the live-action version, and Belfast. That's right. I put Cinderella in the good category.
It is good.
It is good.
Yes, because people think all the time, you don't like live-action remakes. I'm like, that one's fine.
That one was good.
The worst pick, Kenneth Branagh's worst movie, according to IMDb, is Artemis Fowl. More like
More
Foul.
like Artemis Fowl.
Am I right?
Still in
4.3.
Zach's jokes. That's all he's got.
Yeah. My pick for worst. My pick for worst movie.
It's not Artemis Fowl.
It is Artemis Fowl.
Oh, okay, good.
I was like, is he going to say Thor?
No,
Is he gonna say
I said Thor. Like, it's a good,
Okay.
and the good
Yeah.
one. I like that. So Artemis Fowl, a young criminal prodigy, hunts down a secret society of fairies to find his missing father. And yes, we did do an entire Bacon bit on Artemis Fowl.
Why?
Because it came out in 2020.
We had nothing
When
else
we
to
were
talk about.
starving for movies. We're like, there's a movie releasing on Disney Plus. Let's review it, guys.
What's Disney Plus?
So this movie is just, you can listen to the entire review about it, but this was number 5 on my worst of 2020 list. It was the 18th most watched straight-to-streaming title of 2020.
Wow, that's a low bar.
18th. And then it was removed from Disney Plus in 2023 as part of a cost-cutting measure on Disney's streaming platforms. So they took it away because no one really cared.
Wait, it's
for it.
gone?
Yeah.
It's so funny. So
it's
this,
available for purchase, apparently.
this one was far too late to jump in on the young adult adaptation thing. And even then, it like helped kill it further, so
Yeah.
it will never come back.
Well, and this movie did a very amazing thing of offending both people who love the book and people who've never read the book.
Because they didn't bother following the book.
They went so far off the book path that it was unrecognizable to the book lovers, and then it was completely unintelligible to anyone who hadn't read the books. So I was
It was a
watching
really
this-
fun bacon bit, though.
It was a fun bacon. Yeah, we enjoyed that one and have brought it up multiple times since then. But Artemis Fowl, it doesn't even feel like a Kenneth Branagh movie. It's like, how did he get attached to this? Apparently, he read the book and loved it, and so he was contacted like a week later by Disney to do it.
Wow.
So
Mistakes.
the fates chose Kenneth Branagh to direct Artemis Fowl, and the fates failed.
Kent, who is your next director?
Michael Mann. Michael Mann has directed The Thief, Manhunter, The Last of the Mohicans, Heat,
Yeah.
The Insider, Ali, Collateral, Miami Vice, Public Enemies, and Ferrari.
Overrated.
Unbelievable.
Excuse me?
Maybe.
I just sneezed.
One of the best directors living today. Heat alone could have been his only movie, and
How
he
long
would have
ago
been.
was that?
It's been about 30 years, but
96?
Heat 2 is coming out. 76? Did you say
And
96?
that's 96, I think.
What a year.
By the way, Miami Vice, crazy underrated.
95.
I think it's super awesome. Collateral, if you haven't seen Collateral lately,
Fantastic.
it just gets better
Vice
and
with,
better and better.
with Jamie Foxx.
Yeah. It's really good. But Collateral is probably my favorite. The worst one, I think, is Black Hat. This one came out in 2015.
Yeah, with all the killer whales and the pods in the bay.
No.
Oh,
Blackfish.
oh,
Oh, is that where you're going? So this one has Chris Hemsworth. They were trying to be like, hey, guys, he can act too. I know he's in Marvel movies, but he can be in a cool thriller.
I remember this one.
So this is like him. He's the most handsome hacker that's ever hacked. And so he's meant to track down like a super hacker that's trying to dominate part of the world or whatever. And you're like, cool, Michael Mann is the guy to do a movie like this. He can make an intense movie that could just be dialogue, or movies that you sit in front of computers and it could be good, but it's not. This is like a studio made film. I feel like he just didn't care about this at all. And it ends with like a knife fight at the end, even though it's all about computer hacking. And he's not believable at all. I really think I'm like, Chris Hemsworth doesn't really have a future in acting, but he's good at what he does, which is Thor. So, and even then,
You also want to point out, Kent, that he did direct Manhunter, which was the first appearance of
Manhunter's really good. by
Hannibal
the way.
Lecter on screen.
Yeah, I actually like Manhunter. Like, I like Red Dragon maybe a little more, but I think Manhunter ate so that Silence of the Lambs could run.
Feast. Oh,
There you go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I should have said Feast, absolutely. But yeah, Black Hat is absolutely forgettable. But I love Michael Mann. He's not overrated at all.
hashtag save killer whales.
Jonathan, who is your next director?
My next director is Denis Villeneuve.
Denis. Or as the Americans say, Dennis Villeneuve.
Jonathan, why are you picking directors that have never made a bad movie? Like, you're like, hey, it's all good, but slightly less good.
I like the challenge.
Okay, go on.
Much like Christopher Nolan, how do I criticize this guy? I
Yeah.
sat there and I
In
agonized.
French.
It took me hours to actually come up with an answer for this because I love him. I was like, what do I do? And I was like, well, and I sat there and I really had to think about this for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do I love the Dune movies. I liked Blade Runner. I was like, how do I criticize him? So once again, I had to go back and I had to think about a movie that hurt to watch.
Oh, no.
And so I was like, what do I do?
Here we go.
Because I love this film. And
I know what you're going to
and
choose.
when I watched this movie, it was so good. It actually made me a fan of his. And then I was like, well, he made this film and then he started making crowd pleasers. So I was like, I have to say this movie, but I don't dislike this movie. I actually made my wife watch this movie so she could be a fan of his too. But I have to say Prisoners. It's the only one
Prisoners,
I can say.
hashtag hug your kids.
Yeah, Hug Your Kids.
It's
My
hard
gosh,
to
it's
watch.
So hard to watch, and that's why I was like, this is one of those films where it's so
A kid goes missing. Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal,
Terrence Howard.
and Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard. Yeah, that's who it is.
And they're so good in this film. So when I'm bashing, I'm not because
It's so well made.
It is,
The
but
style is oozing off the screen.
my goodness, yeah. And the whistle at the end is the whew. So the only thing, and that does not ruin anything for anybody, but the only thing I could say in this is that it's one of those ones where I'm like, do I need to see it again?
No.
And so, in fact, when I told my
That
wife
may have
to
been our
watch
one
it,
and done episode.
Yeah. I
yeah.
think so.
When I made it, my wife watch it. She said, "Why are you getting up and leaving the room?" I said, "Just because this is one of those things." And we didn't have kids at the time. If you have kids, don't watch it.
don't watch it.
When I told her to watch it, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna get up and leave." And I didn't have a kid at the time because it is way too much for someone with kids to watch. But it's a really, really good film. I actually kind of hope he goes back to making films like this when he's done with doing films.
Totally.
But it was an excellent film. It's just one that I can't watch more than once.
Okay. Good answer.
So that's why.
Joel, who is your next director?
My next director is Nora Ephron. You may know her from such movies as Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail. And she was also a writer on When Harry Met Sally. I wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
She has a knack for rom-coms.
Yeah.
I mean, Sleepless in Seattle is considered by many to be the greatest rom-com of all time.
She
But-
kind of defined rom-coms for a generation.
Yes. But her worst, according to IMDb, is Bewitched with a 4.8. But my pick for worst
I like Bewitched.
is Bewitched.
No, I like it.
Bewitched.
I like it.
Bewitched is
Why?
so
I don't know
How?
why. It's so dumb.
bad.
Is
So
it Steve Carell and Bewitched? Is that what you like it?
here's
That's Uncle Arthur.
yeah.
Here's the synopsis. Yeah. Steve Carell being Paul Lind. But here's a synopsis. Thinking he can overshadow an unknown actress in the part, an egocentric actor unknowingly gets a witch cast in an upcoming television remake of the classic sitcom Bewitched.
Is it Porsche or Porsche?
So this movie, I don't understand why they decided to do it this way, because it's like their remake. Oh, we're going to make a movie about people remaking Bewitched, which is about a fictional witch.
It's a bit meta.
But then we're going to have an actual witch be cast in the movie who has the exact same like dynamic as Samantha.
And it was in
Bewitched.
the era where Will Ferrell was in everything.
Yeah.
I compare
And
it
Nicole
to
Kidman.
I compare it to the Brady Bunch movie in the late 90s.
See, the Brady
Where
Bunch
it's like,
had some
how
magic
dare
to
you.
it.
It's in on its joke. It's not as funny. I mean, the Brady
Okay,
Bunch
thank
movie
you.
is
Yeah,
great.
but
Thank you.
and I was a big fan of the TV series back in the day.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Dick Sargent or Dick York?
Dick Sargent. I'm pretty sure.
I was a Dick York fan.
Oh. Save it for our versus episode.
yeah.
Or Bewitched.
We found it.
The film earned Nicole Kidman and Will Ferrell Golden Raspberry Award for worst screen combo, and it is horrible.
Completely agree.
I'm pretty sure this made my worst of list the year I watched it as well. That was where we were watching all the witch movies. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure is why I watched it. Ugh. Bewitched was awful. I hated it.
You're right.
And I have no idea why Nora Ephron, who has proven herself before, decided to make that terrible pile of nothing.
And why would you put Will Ferrell? He only has really one, maybe two good movies in his entire filmography. He's
Ooh, hot
awful,
take.
that guy. Oof.
Stranger Than Fiction.
Yep.
That's
What?
Elf.
Guys,
That's it. I like Elf. I know
sorry.
you-
Gag reflex.
this is an actual possibility.
Sorry, Jonathan. Julie and Julia. I would not like it at
No,
all.
Zach, I agree with you.
It's
That was
bad.
that was almost my pick until I saw Bewitched.
That
was on
movie
there.
is so needlessly depressing.
That we talked about that on the Amy Adams
We
episode.
did.
That-
Worst haircut for Amy Adams.
Oh,
Bad
terrible
haircut for her.
haircut.
Bad.
That's
bad,
what
bad.
this podcast
matters.
What are we talking about, guys?
for our haircut
Hairstyles.
tearing.
Guys, we did
episode.
mustaches.
I'm in.
did. Worst haircuts
Bobs?
in movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked the movie, but I did think her hair was terrible.
This is the best.
So bizarre.
All right, my next director is David Fincher. David Fincher is one of the best directors out there.
He did a lot of rom-coms too, right?
He cares so much.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, very
rom-coms
funny.
like 7. So it says 7 because it has a 7 in the middle. The Game, Fight Club, Panic Room, Zodiac, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, The Social Network, Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, Mank, and The Killer.
Can you
good.
tell that we picked our own directors? Can you tell?
So
Joel started with Chris Columbus. Don't forget that.
here's why I shouldn't have probably said a few movies in the good list, because if there's, once again, I'm relying on the Zack test. And if I have
Zack test.
if I have Benjamin Button,
Yeah.
or I don't know, Alien 3, I'm probably going to watch Alien 3. Because I think Benjamin Button is a pretty lousy, schmaltzy movie.
So you're picking Benjamin Button?
No, it's Alien 3 because David
Okay.
Fincher hates it.
And you go after me.
Sure.
Why does he hate a movie that he made?
We've talked a little bit about this production before, just barely. But first of all, audiences hated it because something that happens right at the beginning, right? There's a story decision.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Where you're like, it ruins everything that happened from the previous movie. But the production on Alien 3 was one of the worst because Fox was so involved, and they fired a few directors that were working on it before.
A lot,
and they needed a guy to come in at halftime, right? That's a baseball term.
Yeah.
And they got a guy who's directed a lot of good music videos, David Fincher, and they said, hey, we have about 17 scripts. Literally, they had so many scripts, and we're trying to figure this out. help us. You're visually good. See what happens. They fired him 3 times because he, as a new director, was like,
Alien 3 times.
yeah, right. he was like, hey, I think this would be a good idea. And they're like, nope, sorry. And so he just kind of shut up and he made the movie they wanted to. Once again, kind of like James Cameron, he made his own like assembly cut, which they've released since.
Yeah.
It doesn't totally improve it, but just barely, because he wanted it to be a different movie, even though he was brought in halfway and kept on being fired. So he just really hates this movie. It did make $160 million on a $60 million budget, but I don't know, like, because it's an Alien movie, I'll watch it because it's like a Saturday night kind of movie. Then 3.
Have you been working out?
Actually,
Your arms are really
stop it right now. I was going to say yes, but then you're joking around.
No. I was going to say, you're looking good. Have you been working out? My lowest rated is actually Fight Club. Okay. So,
Fight Club? Really?
Well, he just wants to fight.
Have you watched Fight Club?
Here's what's funny. He's not even supposed to talk about it.
True.
He's breaking all the rules.
Yeah, he's got some problems.
You hate Kent.
I don't.
Yeah.
Don't.
It don't. It don't. What was that? Is it you ticky me again?
No. Just squeezing your bicep.
Jonathan, what do you got? Hold on.
Kent's flexing over here.
All right. I have Tim Burton. Let me be clear about this guy. I really do love Tim Burton.
Yeah, of course.
But he has really lost his way.
Yeah.
I don't know if he sold his soul to Disney through Johnny Depp or what happened.
Maybe.
We did talk about that on Baconsale episode 77, From Pee Wee to Penregrine, Tim Burton.
You know, he was so good at blending whimsy with dark, right?
Yeah.
Fantastical elements. And it really won me over because I just, you know, if you've noticed, a lot of the guys I like are good at doing things like that. You know, Christopher Nolan does that with the crazy sci-fi and you just never know where you're going to go, right?
There's a vision there. There are tours.
Yes,
Right.
yes, that's what I love, right? That's what has drawn me into film, you know, all these years. So, you know, since I can't mock Snow White here, I'm going to go ahead and discuss the other bomb that Disney had, Dumbo.
Okay.
I still haven't seen this.
Dumbo is, you know, when I was a kid, my dad watched Dumbo with me, the cartoon, and we laughed, we cried, you know, we had a good time watching it because it's not the best Disney cartoon, but there's some really great moments in there. There's a lot of fun.
Baby Mine.
With, yes.
Not fun with Baby Mine.
No, that's
a good moment. Yes.
It's a really good moment.
It was sad.
And there's moments that are really sad. There's moments that are really beautiful, and it has a great ending, right? It really does. And it's really touching at the end. And, you know, you love, you know, Timothy Mouse and you love Dumbo. And, you know, the whole thing with, you know, he can fly, you know, you see an elephant fly. And there's just some really memorable.
Timothy Mouse, was he the one in Wonka?
Sure.
He looks like a mouse.
Yeah. But, you know, there was just a lot to recommend about that cartoon. Like a lot of original classic Disney cartoons that should have stayed cartoons.
Yeah.
When they took and you know made these quote unquote live action films,
Yes.
they took
CGI, computer animated hybrid.
these
whatever.
photorealistic things, right? Zach, they took away the cutesy. They made them look more realistic. And when you do that, you can't have the cute animal faces because that's not realistic, right? So that's the first issue. The second issue is it's spooky. The new Dumbo is
Yeah, it's spooky.
very weird.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense. It's like, okay, Tim Burton, I understand what your vision is. That is not Dumbo. This is weird. And it never resolves. Like, there's no resolution for why it's creepy. It just is. It's just like you're in this circus that feels very creepy, but there is no reason for it. This remake is soulless. This was a cash grab. And everybody there doesn't care. They do not.
Yeah.
Maybe the kids. The kids
They're there
care.
for the paycheck.
The rest of them are there for a paycheck. And so I said, you know, with my dad, we laughed when we cried. With my wife, we didn't laugh. We cried because we didn't enjoy it.
No.
You know? And it was a shame that we didn't. And, you know, it was just a strange, soulless remake.
You're exactly right, but you're also wrong. Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
is Tim Burton's
that's
first
true.
movie.
That probably
with-
might take
with
two.
Marky Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marky Mark. He does have a lot of bad, but
Dang
I
it.
just, you know, the Disney thing. Plus, you know, we got to bring up Snow White. But he didn't do that one, so I couldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
What if he goes to Netflix and gets good?
No. Oh, by the way, David Fincher ruined by Netflix as well.
Oh, yeah, that's
So,
true.
just saying.
People like Wednesday.
People like Fridays better.
Joel,
7 a.m.
usual morning.
Go
Joel,
downstairs.
who do you have next?
Well, who I have next is actually Ryan Johnson. That's R-A-N
boy.
Johnson.
Hiss in a byword?
He's directed such good movies as Brick. Remember Brick?
I love Brick.
It's great. Looper. You like
Yeah.
Luke Berlant? I like Luke Berlant.
She's a brick and
Yeah.
Oh, so sad.
Even Knives
Not a
Out.
love song.
Knives Out is entertaining.
The first one, yeah.
Yeah.
what, Copper Onion. What was the other one?
Glass Onion.
Yeah. Okay.
There's bone marrow. You get the bone marrow. It's actually kind of unique for Copper Onion.
Ryan Johnson's worst movie, according to IMDb, is The Brothers Bloom, which I didn't like, but I don't think it's his worst
Yeah,
movie.
not at all.
My pick for worst.
Joel, let's build this up. What's Ryan Johnson's worst movie in your opinion?
Star Wars episode 8, The Last Jedi.
Yes.
Yeah. I think this is a horrible movie.
Franchise killer.
And that's just it. This, by the way, synopsis. Rey develops her abilities with the help of Luke Skywalker as the Resistance prepares for the battle against the First Order. It was hard for me to find out how well this movie did at the box office because it made $1.3 billion on a budget of $300 million, and how well it did on like reviews. Like they were saying, like critically acclaimed, and critics like it. And it was the highest grossing film of 2017, which is ridiculous.
Coming off of the hype of the Force Awakens,
And that's so. And then
and people going, I can't believe it was that bad. I have to go.
You know
twice."
what's funny is previous to this movie, the theories that were out there about Star Wars. Who's Snoke?
yeah.
Who's Rey really?
Doesn't matter.
And then this movie came out and nobody cared about
And
it anymore.
I've talked about this before. The moment when Rey is handing the lightsaber to Luke at the end of The Force Awakens was the moments where like, oh, wow, this is like legacy passing.
Yeah.
And Brian Johnson's like, you know what? No. He takes it, throws it
Laser
over a sword,
sword.
calls it a laser sword, and walks off. And then he burns down the Jedi library. And there's so many things I can talk about.
Keep going.
Rose saying that thing about we're going to win this war not by fighting people we hate, but by saving people we love. When Finn was about to do an amazing sacrifice of himself to save the world,
Right.
it has all the Force kids in there who are like moving brooms and staring off into the sky when that weird casino planet. And there's just so many things about this movie that I didn't like. This was the movie that killed Star Wars love for me.
Well, it killed Star Wars. Not just love, it killed Star Wars. I loved Star Wars to this point, and it made me go, this is ruining it.
Well,
you couldn't save it because they took it and they destroyed everything that was building movie 7. Sorry, but yeah. Go ahead. It was awful.
That's just it. It's like I think most of the hate gets directed at episode 9, which I think there's something to be said there.
Nine's
Like,
technically a worse movie.
because it
Only 'cause they couldn't save it.
overcorrected in that regard. But I just feel like this is the movie that broke Star Wars, and I don't forgive Ryan Johnson for that, because it used to be like, yeah, fine, it has its flaws, but I still love it. And this is
Yeah.
where we're like, no, I'm out. This is where I get out. And
It's pretty.
oh yes,
You're
the
pretty.
the throne room scene, the throne fight is visually cool. The planet
Yeah.
with the red dirt
I know,
underneath
I
the
know.
white
Zach,
cell.
you're right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
like there's stuff there there's
the
good to be
substance
had.
isn't there, but the style is.
Exactly.
'Kay.
They sacrifice story for cool looking and sounding things.
hey.
Oh, don't forget also
Salt.
Yeah, and Force
Not snow.
and Force Leia. I didn't say snow.
No, that's what they say.
Oh,
they
yeah.
like this isn't snow, guys. It's red salt.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're not on Hoth.
Yeah, Leia.
But then Leia force pushing, and then the fact that they had to like CGI her for part of it because Carrie Fisher sadly passed away during the filming of this
movie killed her.
And then we're totally
Allegedly.
just spoiling this movie.
Don't watch it.
Go on.
No, but then Mark Hamill, in fact, look, Mark Hamill, after reading the script for the first time, Mark Hamill told writer-director Ryan Johnson, quote, "I pretty much fundamentally disagree with every choice you've made for this character. Now, having said that, I've gotten it off my chest, and my job is now to take what you created and do my best to realize your vision."
Back when Mark Hamill still had standards.
Sure.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, Ryan Johnson wrote on Twitter that optimal viewing experience for The Last Jedi was on a plane during a long international flight, to which Mark Hamill jokingly posted this reply, "Brilliant idea, Ryan Johnson. That's the perfect way to prevent people from walking out."
Oh, yay. Wow. That's some good tea.
Yeah. Okay.
Why am I so angry?
Because The Last Jedi
you
got
forgot.
brought up.
You tried to
Genuinely
forget.
angry again.
I don't know if you've noticed how little, like, Star Wars was a big topic conversation for the first few seasons of Baconsale.
We cared a lot.
And then after this came out, it kind of went, we're kind of done with it.
All right, Kent, who is your next director?
Guillermo del Toro.
Whoa.
Director of The Devil's Backbone, Blade 2, Hellboy and Hellboy 2, Pan's Labyrinth, Pacific Rim, Crimson Peak, The Shape of Water, which is Kiss Kiss Blub Blub.
Kiss Kiss Club.
Glub Glub. Sorry, the Blub Blub. What is that?
That's the sequel.
Nightmare Alley and Pinocchio. Okay. Guillermo del Toro, he's once again one of these visual guys. He's an auteur. You know a movie is a del Toro movie if you see him. His worst movie.
Because it's going to be creepy.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, right?
Typically,
and sometimes
yeah.
maybe more beautiful than creepy, right? They're not straight up horror, but they veer that way. And
More
his,
beautiful than creepy.
Yeah.
That's Kent's type.
Well, my record. His worst movie is his first American movie, and this came out in 1997. It's called Mimic. Okay, Mimic, guys, the synopsis is 3 years ago, entomologist Dr. Susan Tyler genetically created an insect to kill cockroaches carrying a virulent disease. Now the insects are out to destroy their only predator, mankind. This is starring Mira Sorvino.
I remember the trailer for this one.
You remember the trailer and you remember the poster. You remember just seeing darkness in the trailer because there's really not much there. This might be, I recently rewatched this one. I watched it back in the late 90s and I forgot all about it. It's basically cockroaches are monsters and they're killing us in the sewers.
Yeah.
Okay. And Del Toro hates the people thinks of his movie in this way. This is probably the worst movie on my list of any other director
Mimic?
movies because the acting is horrible. The script is horrible. It's way too dark. And I almost don't blame him. In fact, he said, I love when directors hate on a movie they've done. He says, I really hated this experience. My first American experience was almost my last because it was with the Weinsteins and Miramax.
Ooh.
And he goes on to say, I have got to tell you, 2 horrible things happened in the late 1990s. My father was kidnapped, which is true, and I worked with the Weinsteins. I know which one was worse.
Oh, no.
The kidnapping made more sense. I knew what they wanted.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Because the Weinsteins involved themselves so much and tried to fire him a few times. In fact, Tarantino and Mira Sorvino were the ones to save his job. And he was like, actually, I'd be fine not finishing this movie because it's just bad. His view of this movie was going to be a little more artsy, where it was like, what if insects evolved? Like, how would that affect the world? But instead, the studio said, nope, killer cockroaches that are giant.
Wow.
I love that cartoon as a kid. Killer cockroaches.
Big
that are
bad
giants.
Beetleborgs. I know. It's horrible. No one ever watched this movie.
Jonathan, who have you got?
M. Night Shyamalan.
M. Night Shyamalan.
I'm curious because I know what Joel's least favorite and I know what my least favorite is. Zach, I think I know your least favorite.
M. Night Shyamalan?
Yeah.
You know what my lease is?
I totally do.
Did we talk about that back when we talked about episode 24, the M. Night Shyamalan?
Wow.
24.
24.
That's just
that was
a-
our first guest, I think.
Just
Emily.
a baby podcast.
Yeah.
Aw, so cute.
Long time ago, yeah.
Look at him.
So we know all his good movies. What's his worst movie in your opinion?
We do know all his good movies. And he's an interesting filmmaker because he is really one of those guys that you have to call him a great filmmaker, I think, but maybe just a good one because he's had so many bad ones. I mean, he has good ones, as you said, but he hit a slump. He hit a really big slump.
Yeah.
He hit a slump with a car.
Yeah, seriously. And so there's been so many bad films too. So I thought for a while about this, and I came up with The Last Happening.
A hybrid of The Last Airbender and The Happening.
Oh, that would be a
which those
terrible
movies
movie.
were Happening first and then Last Airbender right after that, right?
Yes,
Oh, wait,
exactly.
2010.
And so I was
followed up by After Earth. It was a rough stretch.
it was a rough stretch. And that one was bad too, but I really think that Baconsale defended The Last Airbender.
I don't have that episode number. That's weird.
just gone from memory. How about that?
Because you guys defended it, I couldn't in good conscience consider that the worst film. So I had to go with The Happening. I was going to pick The Last Airbender, but when you guys defended it, I said, well, I'm going to have to go with The Happening.
What have we done?
We've created a monster.
So The
Jonathan, I
Happening
agree.
it is.
I think The Happening is worse
I think The Happening is bad. It's really bad. I
It's
mean,
less watchable.
because
It is.
it could have been really
it
awesome.
should have been, right?
Yeah.
The opening is cool because the opening, you're like, what's going on? People are committing suicide. I mean, it's kind of gory, but it's like, what's going on? This
Yeah.
is really cool. And then the movie begins. And from the ridiculous dialogue, I'm talking to a plastic plant. Like, really, Marky Mark? Okay.
Yeah.
You do you, buddy. To the hippie, it's the plants, you guys. Really? Have you had the hot dogs?
Oh,
What?
man.
And you have to outrun the wind.
Yeah.
What? I loathe this. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. The only movie that perhaps is worse is honestly the Last Jedi, which over there on that list. I saved it for last because it is so bad. This is an F. I rarely give a movie an F. This is an F. I hate The Happening.
What about you, Joel?
My last one.
Last one.
My last director is Steven Spielberg.
Oh,
Interesting.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, we did talk about Steven Spielberg before in Baconsale episode 65. Steven Spielberg and the Raters of the Lost Art.
That's a cute name.
Cute.
Yeah. And he's directed such movies, if you did not know, as Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones Last Crusade, Always, Hook, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, Minority Report, and even Ready Player One. I'd include on that list. His worst movie, according to IMDb, is 1941. It comes in at 5.8.
1943 is a Nintendo game that I played.
Yeah, it's really awesome, actually.
That
The
one
pipe
plays.
the one where you do the spin flip.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. 1941 would be my guess. Yeah.
My pick for Steven Spielberg's worst movie is also 1941.
Yeah.
It is absolutely terrible.
What a
It's
weird
the
thing.
worst.
What a
Hysterical
weird thing.
Californians prepare for a Japanese invasion in the days after Pearl Harbor. Now, this movie came like after Close Encounters of Jaws and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and then he did Raiders of the Lost Ark and E.T. after. So in the middle of all that, he decided to do this screwball comedy, and I think quickly learned he does not do screwball comedy.
No.
This has Dan Aykroyd and Ned Beatty, John Belushi, John Candy, Christopher Lee. Like there are stars in this who can be funny, but this movie is not. I don't think he knew what it should be because he just kind of. I think he hoped the comedians would bring the
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. It's a lot of sketches thrown together.
He'd kind of like framed the story together and
Yeah.
then said, "Yeah, you guys just be funny, just be funny." And it's not funny. It's a terrible movie, and it's not. It's just stupid. And it was written by Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale.
What?
Also, Robert Zemeckis could have been on this
Back to the
list as
Future.
well.
Back to
Yeah,
the Future.
Back to the Future is Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale.
Yeah.
So this is like what this came out in 1979. So like 6 years later, they write Back to the Future. Fine. After this movie came out, and it did not do well. It did not do well at the box office. And John Belushi apparently was wearing a shirt around that said Steven Spielberg with like, a little grave thing. It said Steven Spielberg, 1946 to 1941.
Ooh, wow.
Because people thought at the time, wow, has Spielberg lost his magic? Is he over?
Could you imagine?
And that's before Raiders of the Lost Ark and E.T. came out right after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
And
there's
then he goes on to make the movie of movies. Like, stop.
Yeah.
Well, he's so
yeah,
good.
he's very good. But yes, he's not a comedic director.
No.
So 1941 was my pick. Don't watch it.
Yeah.
Kent,
The final director
take us home.
is Martin Scorsese.
Ooh.
A lot of people don't like a lot of his movies. They don't vibe with him.
It's
I
insane.
know what I'm thinking.
It's insane to not like his
I just
movies.
can't spell his last name ever.
Sometimes I'm like, is it C-E-S-E or is it S-E-C-E? Guess what? It's C-C. It's S-E-S-E, like Sese. Martin Scorsese.
Don't say it
Guys, now you're never going to forget it's Martin Scorsese.
Just like we said,
Rule of thumb.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah,
Now every time I
right?
spell it out like that.
So now you know. But don't put any X's in there.
Scorsese.
Scorsese. He's directed. If I went through the whole list, it would take a long time. But
So
the
does
ones
movies.
he's known for: Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, The Last Waltz, The King of Comedy, Raging Bull, Last Temptation of Christ, Goodfellas. Casino, Gangs of New York, Aviator, The Departed, Shutter Island, Wolf of Wall Street, Silence, The Irishman, Killers of the Flower Moon. Right, that's like half of them. Okay.
And the Michael Jackson Bad video.
Yeah. Right. I love him. He's one of these weird directors where you're like, wow, you're so choosy with your movies. But then he comes out with a movie like every other year. And you're like, how are you still working? But the guy is still kicking. He has like 6 movies in development, but his worst movie is one that doesn't match his style at all. And I think it's a passion project. He's had a few of these, one being Silence, which I love, but it's so hard to watch. But another one, which is a passion project, is called, and it's hard to pronounce because it's like literally, but
Hugo.
it's Kundun or Kundun.
Kundun.
What is it?
Kundun, I think.
Kundun. And this is not a prequel to Dune. This is a movie about the Dalai Lama. This came out in 1997. It's PG-13 and it's 2 hours and 14 minutes. And it's from childhood to adulthood. Tibet's 14th Dalai Lama deals with Chinese oppression and other problems. And this is like a valiant effort. He's trying to make a sweeping epic about the life and the choosing of a Dalai Lama and what he had to deal with. And it just isn't Scorsese at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who did The Last Emperor? That's what I was thinking that was this.
Yeah, because you get those confused because
Yeah.
they're thematically like right there.
But who did that one? Now I got to look.
I think it's a pretty well-known director. Please
I
look
think
it
so,
up.
too. I'm looking up right now. It is, nope.
Nope.
Bernardo Bertolucci.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That guy did not
Household
make our
name.
list, just barely.
It's pronounced Bertolucci.
Even though that movie's forgettable, it's better than this one. This one is actually quite bland. It has a Philip Glass score, which is great, but also doesn't fit the movie at all. Like, I like the soundtrack just on its own, but the movie, it lacks aura. Aura? One of those. It's just like, it's kind of like Kirkland Gandhi, really. It just makes no impact, and you're like, anyone could have directed this. Why Scor-seysey? So yeah, that's, I think, his worst movie.
My worst was actually Wolf of Wall Street.
Well, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
It was very short on the version.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine. I walked out of that movie hating the experience, but then after that going, I know why that's an important movie. I just don't like it.
It's not enjoyable.
It's not enjoyable.
It's only important because it introduced Margot Robbie to the world.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing something with all of our listener.
Yeah, not everyone's perfect, except for all of Jonathan's choices. All of his directors, except for Sean Nolan, were perfect.
Yeah.
I disagree, but hey, that's
Yeah.
So now that we finished talking about which directors we think were the best and their worst movies, we want to know if we missed any. Were there any big director names out there that we didn't talk about that you're like, well, this director's great, but this movie's terrible?
And generally, we try to have directors with 8 movies.
At least 8. That's what
Yeah.
we said. At least 8 movies.
Yes.
And so let us know if we missed any, and let us know if you agree with our decisions about what their movie is, which movie of theirs is the worst.
Do we need a companion show where a generally bad director accidentally made a good one?
Yes.
ooh.
There's so many things I'm going to have to write down when I listen to this episode.
Okay.
But let us know on Facebook. Let us know on Instagram. Let us know on Twitter. Let us know on YouTube, because we want to hear from you, listener. And before we go, we'd like to give some love to our patrons. A little shout out here for those who help keep the lights on here in the Bacon Cave and keep Zack directing these episodes. Right, Zack?
Yeah.
Forever.
Including the I'm a Listener tier, which has in it Taylor, not the Bill Sanderson, some guy, Scott Least Top Bottom Sprague, Sawyer Western, St. Shannon and Sir James West, Ryan and Marley, Rocky and Steph, Lady Terry A. Finley, Juice the Crueler King Swallow, Jennifer Kukelski, Casey Cummings, and Adam and Rachel Crump. And then we have our Bacon Council, which includes the other Brit, Johnny English.
Hey!
Thanks for having me on here today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. The one, the only Chris Anderson, Stephen, everyone favorite Ross, Star Wars expert Kyler, our favorite couple, the Madsons, Nicole D. Kale, Her Royal Highness Jessica Terry, Chloe Clin Daniel, Debbie Foster, and Beaker.
Thank you, patrons.
Thank you, patrons. You are the Martin to our Scorsese.
Yeah. There we go.
But if you want to find me, you can find me at 76Joel on Twitter. You can find me performing with Quickwits, who perform at the studio at the Parker Theater. For more details, go to qwcomedy.com or go to the Quickwits Facebook page.
You can find me on Twitter at Kenny3DD. You can find me at Instagram at Kent C. Dunn, and you can read my movie reviews at ShowtimeShowdown.com.
If you'd like to connect with me, you can do so on Twitter and Instagram at Zachary Western. But more importantly, make sure you're following Baconsale. Please like that Facebook page and then go to at Baconsale on Twitter and Instagram. After you've done that, go to tpublic.com/Baconsale and get yourself some merch. And then if you like what's going on here and you want to support us further, visit patreon.com/Baconsale. Support starts at just $3 a month and you can get access to all sorts of behind the scenes fun, including really long bacon bits.
Maybe our longest yet.
Where we eat a lot of food.
Yum.
And I get a headache. Patreon.com/Baconsale.
So until next time, the good news is we don't have to eat any of that daiquiri ice cream because I didn't put it in the fridge and it melted.
Oh, great. Zachary did.
Someone grab a mop.
Hello, Misty. I've never seen 10 movies. I think that Joel is the only one with an edge on Baconsale anymore. Oh, yeah, against you.
What's up?
How dare you?
You are softened in your
I'm the
ways.
hipster. I'm the hipster with the edge.
We're not having fun on a bracket till Joel calls us idiots.
Is it because I like fireworks now?
Yeah. Blackjaw yokel.
Isn't it cute when Ken tries to get his edge back?
He's gotten so ranch spicy.
Nice.
I hate Rent.
If you mention an owl in the next 5 minutes, I'll be mad. Hey, maybe this movie's funny. What is it? It's about the Red Scare. What?
Yeah.
On Baconsale
Wonder
episode.
why.
Blah, 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 blah.
Black and white, weird chicken dinner, mutant baby, radiator girl movie.
I saw that at the Provo Dollar Theater for 50 cents.
Sorry.
Blah, blah.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine, guys. It's fine.
I invented 7 on Baconsale.
Piranha 2 all day. It's like the kids' version of Porky's. Here comes the real anger.
There will be love.
The most handsome hacker that's ever hacked.
Is that Porsche or Porsche?
I thought it was
Dick Sargent or Dick York?
Dick Sargent. I'm pretty sure.
I was a Dick York fan.
Save it for our versus episode.
Yeah.
Or Bewitched.
We found it.
Save it for our haircut tearing.
That's a baseball term.
Have you been working out?
Actually,
Your arms are really
stop it right now.
nice.
Is you tiki me again?
No.
That is not Dumbo. This is weird.
More beautiful than creepy.
Yeah.
That's Kent's type.
Martin Scor-seysey.
Hashtag save killer whales.
Say my name, Zach.
And it was the highest grossing film of 2017. It's ridiculous.
Zach, you okay? What just happened?
You got to say that again because you said highest groping film.
Higher.
Okay.